Um, Hi. My name is Eshita, and today I'm going to be talking to you about perspective. I'm sorry. You should see the looks on your faces. Just priceless. What's wrong? You must be surprised. After all, when I walked out here with that fidget and that stammering, you must have thought I was a poor young teenager with a bad bout of stage fright. But now that you've seen me stand here, talk a bit more confidently. That has all changed. It's quite interesting, actually. Just by giving you a little bit more information about myself, your perspective of me has changed. It is a pretty simple concept. The more you can hear, taste, touch, smell, or see about an object or a situation, the more your perspective of it changes. Take this apple, for example. I know, you must be thinking, Eshita, are you crazy? This is very clearly not an apple. It's a box. But hear me out for a second. We go about our daily lives, and we just see things and assume things about them without really thinking, without really reflecting on what we observe. Maybe if we took the time to reflect on what we were observing, maybe look a little closer, peel back the layers, maybe, open the box, you would see that the truth is something quite different. But if something as simple as an apple can fool our perspectives and our perceptions, what does that really say about the reality around us? After all, we go about our daily lives perceiving and observing a plethora of things. According to a study done by the University of California, San Diego, we consume about 34 gigabytes of data every single day. That's enough to overload a laptop for a week, at least if you're using a Windows. We don't have the time to sit back and reflect on everything that we're observing, to really think deeply about the conclusions we're making. So if something as simple as an apple can completely fool our perspectives, can we truly trust the reality around us? Of course not. We humans are too self-centered, too egoistical, too limited in our knowledge, and too self-centered to truly understand the nature of reality around us. Our overabundance of emotion and limited knowledge prevents us from seeing the world around us. My overabundance of knowledge prevents me from seeing reality all the time. This might be a strange question to ask, but how many of you guys have siblings? That's quite a lot. I have a sibling too. She's 5 years older than me, and her name is Jessica. Now, as all people who have siblings know, we love to fight a lot. Every day, every night, especially when we were younger. And when I was in 8th grade, I used to fight with my sister daily. My sister at that point was in college, and she was kind of the apple of my parents' eyes. She was the idol, the person I was supposed to look up to. But I didn't think that was true. I wanted to prove my parents wrong, prove her wrong. I made it my life's goal to basically show my parents that my sister was doing something she wasn't supposed to do. So one day, when she was in the shower, I snuck onto her laptop, used my crazy hacking skills to open it up, basically inserting a password, and lo and behold, began searching. What did you think I found? Was it maybe a browser open with twitter.com or facebook.com? Not quite. Perhaps she had Netflix open watching the latest episode of Breaking Bad? Nope, that wasn't it either. Then definitely Candy Crush or Sonic Dash or something along those lines. That was a no too. What I did find did startle me though. There was an Excel sheet open with a bunch of numbers and dollar signs. And only later did I understand that it was actually the record she was keeping for all the financial transactions in the numerous clubs she was involved in college. She also had a tab open that had a 20-page paper on the future of economics and how it relates to philosophy. And on the next tab over, a document with 2 pages of notes. I also found an interesting private tab, and I was like, this is definitely it. I'm definitely going to find some incriminating evidence here. So I opened it up, and what was there was a recipe for cinnamon buns, something I had been begging my mom to make for my birthday, but something she wasn't able to do. At this point, I shut the laptop and kind of snuck out of her room and sat down to reflect over what I had seen, to see if there was any hint of incriminating evidence I could use. And later, when my sister came to me with a plate of cinnamon buns, I felt this indescribable feeling of guilt, of a sort of disappointment in myself. My sister had been the idol. She had been caring for me and caring for her grades and caring for her entire family. But I had been suspecting her. I hadn't seen her true nature. My overabundance of jealousy had prevented from seeing that she was truly a sister no one else could have. I still wish I could turn back the clock and tell older Eshita or little Eshita that she should reflect on what she had seen, reflect on her sister before making these misguided conclusions. I wish I could have told her to wait until she had a broader perception of reality. But what does having a broader perception of reality really mean? Does it mean answering all of our questions? Does it mean outlining the details of every situation in the world? Does it mean finding the truth? Truth. It's an interesting word. For us, it means the absolute, or a fact stuck in solid, a fact that cannot be altered. But the original meaning of truth is not what you think it is. Truth comes from Old English, Mercian, and Proto-Germanic. And its original meaning was just a constancy or a faithfulness observed in the world around us. Not what we think as the truth. But in reality, that's what the truth is for us. It's a constancy or faithfulness we observe in the universe around us. I mean, think about it. Take gravity, for example. You know, the thing that keeps us stuck here on Earth, the thing that Newton discovered when he was hit on the head with an apple? Well, before Newton's time, people thought that we were stuck here on Earth for a very different reason. They believed that we just naturally belonged here on Earth, that we just tended towards the center of the Earth, because the Earth was the center of the universe. Obviously, we can scoff at their beliefs now. What silly old cavemen and philosophers. But who's to say that we're not the same? This was their version of the truth for 1,300 years. And in all honesty, our theory of gravity isn't that much different. It's a theory, not a law, not something that has been set in stone. It's just a constancy or faithfulness we've observed through several experiments. And scientists are discovering crazy new things about gravity every single day. Gravitational waves, bends in space-time, and equally alien-sounding ideas. So who's to say that we're right about gravity, that we're even close to it, that we have even reached the truth? But if the truth is such a hard thing to reach, then what should we do? After all, truth is essential to our society. Truth is what holds our world together, what holds us together. Without truth, society, people, our brains would run amok. So what should we do to at least take a step further towards truth? My good old friend Friedrich Nietzsche had an answer to this. He was a philosopher who invented the concept of perspectivism, a philosophy based on the perspective. He stated that in order to be a better human, to reach that truth, you must take on as many perspectives as possible. You must know as much as possible about the world. Essentially, he took the phrase, step in everybody else's shoes, to a whole nother level. You know, when we were kids, we used to sneak our hands into the cookie jar and grab a cookie, or fight over our siblings over teddy bears, and our parents used to tell us, go get some perspective. Nietzsche said the exact same thing, but to a whole new extreme. He said to almost go on a Buddha-like level and be one with everything, be part of every perspective. But you know me, I love to question everything. So when I first read about Nietzsche, I had a big question in mind. Is there a point at which we can have too many perspectives? Is there a point at which we have so much knowledge on the world that we just lack happiness? I mean, it's not such an alien question if you think about it. Santa Claus is a great example. When I was 5 years old, I was a Santa fanatic. Every Christmas Eve, I would run to the evergreen tree, which wasn't mine, and pluck a couple branches. Then I would grab my old potted plant in my storage room and kind of stick those twigs on, decorate it with as many ornaments as I could, and warm up a cup of milk, have some cookies ready, write a little note to Santa, and that was it. I had my entire Santa preparation ready. But one fateful night, when Eshita was 5 years old, she woke up early on Christmas Day, very early. So, being a little curious brat, I decided to run out of my bedroom and peek at the tree, and see if anybody had left anything there. What I saw really surprised me, and it's still with me today. Instead of Santa Claus pushing some presents under the tree, I saw my parents drink a gulp out of the milk, bite a cookie or two, pick up the card, read inside, laugh a little bit, and write something there. And they also slipped a little present underneath the tree. At this point, I was smart enough to know that I shouldn't be awake and ran back to bed. And when I woke up later that morning and started investigating the tree, I realized that the card, the present, they were all labeled Santa. Now, at this point, I knew that Santa had just been a figment of my imagination. I had learned more about it, had observed more, and gained perspective. I suddenly had a newfound gratitude for my parents because they had been doing this every single year. But was I necessarily happier as a result? Not quite. After all, it's an irrefutable fact that our perspectives continue to change, and those changes might not always be for what we think is the better. Those changes might bring us happiness or sadness. After all, maturity is when the big parts of perspectives and change occurs. As we're maturing, society tells us what we should do. Society gives us perspectives to look through. And our peers shape our perspectives. When I was a kid, I was super wacky. I had my head shaved at age 4. I ate everything and anything with such fervor that it went around my mouth instead of in it. And I thought that the beautiful and majestic deer were actually horrible carnivores of the night who loved children's flesh. Most importantly, I loved to write, and it was my dream to become an author. But as I grew up, my perspective changed. The way people viewed me changed, and I changed as a result. I started growing out my hair because everybody else was doing it. I started eating a little less and using a lot more napkins. And I lost my fascination with plants and animal and nature. I also lost my goal of becoming an author. Now, here I am, a student whose goal is to achieve straight A's, to get into a great Ivy League college, to have a stable job, a stable house, to live like everyone else, to be everyone else. Maturing has caused me to lose that creative spark I had as a kid. Am I happy that I've matured? Well, maturing is not a fun process. And childhood is perhaps the most beautiful epoch of life. But it's also an irrefutable fact that I have gained a lot of knowledge and a lot of new insight through this maturing process, whether it be about gravity or my sister. Change, whether it be in ourselves, our bodies, or our perspectives, is a natural part of life. It happens. And why take the time and think about everybody else when it's your life. Nietzsche says that you should take on everybody else's perspectives to become this better human being, but I say, what's the rush? Life has ups and downs, and the whole point of the journey is to enjoy those ups and downs, to enjoy your changes in perspectives. Nietzsche might say to try on everybody else's shoes, but I say, try on this pair of shoes. Wait until it grows into your feet, then move on to the next. Then move on to the next. Take your time. After all, you are unique. Neither the you of the past nor the you of the future could even claim to be like you in your perspective. So enjoy that uniqueness. Cherish that uniqueness. Cherish your individuality. Cherish your perspective. Thank you.